Picture a video game that you would like to play, and then imagine AI creating that game for you in a matter of seconds. How does that sound? Google just launched Genie, an incredible image-to-video AI model that has left us speechless with its abilities and potential applications. Honestly, this changes everything for us. But just one question: how did we get here? We all remember the magical genie in a bottle from folklore and how we fell in love with it because of its wish-granting ability and ability to transform our fantastical into realities at the whim of its master. Don't we? Well, Google's Genie is giving that fella a run for his money with its remarkable ability to transform simple text descriptions into entire virtual worlds from a single prompt or image. Genie stands for Generative Interactive Environments, and it is an 11 billion parameter AI model trained in an unsupervised manner on 200,000 hours of unsupervised public internet gaming videos. Those 200,000 hours were then filtered down to 30,000 hours of standardized video from hundreds of 2D games. The individual frames from those videos were also tokenized into a 200 million parameter model that a machine learning algorithm could easily work with. Essentially, you can now create action-controllable virtual worlds described through text, images, photos, and handmade sketches with Genie. All of these happen without any action labels. So, here we can see 2D and 3D images or pictures of what happens in the real world on the top half of the screen, and right under in the bottom half, we see how Genie makes playable videos from them. It might not sound like a lot to some people at first, but when you consider the fact that this AI might be able to create AAA-rated games in the future, it begins to make more sense. Genie is also able to stimulate deformable objects like a shirt, which remains a challenging task for human design simulators. But let's get to the juiciest part of the story. Although not publicly available, researchers tell us that the model does what it does despite not being trained on action or text annotations. This means that Genie's foundation model can determine who the main character is and enable a user to control that character in the generated world on a frame-by-frame basis. It does all of this with its own unique set of rules, mechanics, and visuals when presented with a prompt. And here's what this means for us going forward. This groundbreaking innovation has the potential to make game design accessible to a wider audience more than ever before. As an aspiring game creator, you would no longer need to possess extensive programming knowledge or artistic expertise to bring your ideas to life, because Genie would be doing just that for you. But it doesn't end there. Movie studios will also be looking to make the most of it to enhance production, and we could see a surge of creative ideas. But they would also be wary because you no longer need teams of hundreds of people to create AAA games, because what Genie literally does is create content for an audience of one, which also means that outrageous production budgets are no longer necessary. Outside of the realm of entertainment, we can imagine potential applications for Google's Genie in education, where you can create interactive simulations to enhance learning. It was also revealed that the Genie team wanted to show the AI's potential applications outside of creating 2D platformers, so they trained a smaller 2.5 billion parameter model that tried to map latent actions to a video of a robotic arm working in 3 dimensions. The system was able to map arm movements to consistent action inputs, even going a step further to predict how objects picked up by the robot arm might deform in response to actions. Seeing the results here, we can be hopeful that this technique used by Genie would kickstart a foundational world model for robotics, with low-level controllable simulation that could be used for a variety of applications. We can't keep calm at the moment because the possibilities are truly endless, but don't just take my word for it. Let's go down the rabbit hole on how Google makes all of this possible. Google's 27-page research paper on Genie had a lot in store for us. Zooming over to the methodology, we understand that the model actually contains 3 key components. 1. A latent action model that infers the latent action between each pair of frames. 2. A video tokenizer that converts raw video frames into discrete tokens. 3. A dynamics model that, given a latent action and past frame tokens, predicts the next frame of the video. What the latent action model does is predict the kind of interactive actions, for example button presses, in order to feasibly and consistently generate the kind of frame-by-frame changes seen across all of those tokens. The system then limits the potential inputs to a latent action space of 8 possible inputs in an effort to permit human playability, which makes sense, as the videos it was trained on were all human playable. With the latent action model already established, Genie then generates a dynamics model that can take any number of arbitrary frames and latent actions and generate an educated guess about what the next frame should look like given any potential input. This final model ends up with 10.7 billion parameters trained on 942 billion tokens. Not to bore you with the science, I'll leave the link to the research paper in the description for those of you who want to read it further, but the point is that Google's Genie is attempting to do what no one has. OpenAI's new text-to-video product, Sora, is an AI model that creates realistic and imaginative scenes from text instruction. Once you describe a scene that you want to see in natural language, boom, you could get a minute-long video of what you want. The splash was so crazy that the word on the street was that the famous American actor and filmmaker Tyler Perry actually put his $800 million studio expansion on hold after seeing OpenAI's Sora. The studio was set to add 12 sound stages to the 330-acre property based in Atlanta, but Perry revealed in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter that his predictions might not have to travel to locations or build sets with the assistance of this technology. Perry also revealed that he has used AI in 2 films already. Now, here's where things get interesting. NVIDIA AI researcher Jim Fan noted that Genie improves on OpenAI's Sora video model, in a way, because it's actually a proper action-driven world model with inferred actions. Fan also predicted that 2024 would be the year of foundation world models. Well, that's a bet. But I'll be doing you guys a great deal of injustice by not talking about some of the potential challenges for Google's Genie. So, before you get too excited about Genie, here's what you need to know. Genie still has some challenges and is up against tough competition from incumbent tools like Epic Games' Unreal Engine. We also know that Genie is currently limited to creating games only at the rate of 1 frame per second, which essentially means that the video will change an image per second, thereby giving a slow playback. 1 frame per second essentially means that the videos will be at least 20 to 30 times slower than what would be needed for something that could be considered playable in real time. Also, sample GIFs that show much smoother animation over a few frames are essentially just splicing together a series of frames that would take significant chunks of a minute to generate in real time. The team behind Genie also admits that the system can hallucinate unrealistic futures, much like other AI models. We've already seen this in some of the sample GIFs shared by the Genie team, where 2 flying birds collapse into a single entity, or another where a character seems to start floating rather than falling to the ground after a simple jump. You might have also noticed that the samples shown publicly by the Genie team only show a handful of sometimes very blurry frames of action before looping back to the start. This is most likely because the system is currently limited to analyzing only up to 16 frames of memory, which the team says makes it challenging to get consistent environments over long horizons. Now, this isn't so surprising, seeing that it's only the first iteration of Genie, so it can only get better from here. But while there is still a lot of work to be done, I believe that we can all agree that Genie represents an exciting development that could potentially be a game changer, because despite these challenges, Genie seems able to distinguish a player character from a game background, generate a rough estimate of how that character should move, and also animate in response to player inputs, even scrolling the background appropriately as that character moves. Doing all of that with nothing but a single static image to start from shows a significant step up for a system without any human guidance or action labeling assistance to interpret its video training data. With DeepMind researchers already looking ahead to what this kind of robust world modeling could mean for AI, we want to believe that the impact these models will have when used as world simulators will be huge. DeepMind's Richard Song also believes that Genie could lead to the infinite generator researchers need to generate tons of diverse video game environments necessary for training general-purpose reinforcement learning agents. But just one thing. Do you see Genie being an upcoming threat to game developers and traditional media, or would you rather see Genie as a tool that will further amplify their abilities instead? Also, what are your thoughts about the model, and do you think any of these predictions will see the light of day? AI innovations continue to ramp up at full speed, and we can't fully wrap our heads around everything going on at the moment. However, hitting that subscribe button is one guaranteed way to keep track of the latest AI gist. And if you missed out on the bombshell GPT-5 update from Sam Altman, I have it showing on the screen right here for you.